So the last thing I've done is I've set up a data log to monitor my discharge air temperature, my coil damper command, and my space temperature. So that's going to give me a good idea, and I should be able to view a chart and a graph after the fact. And I'm going to let it run over this weekend, and I'll come back next week and be able to at least have a data log of what my damper position was at, what my space temperature was, and what my discharge air temperature was. So I'll have all that information saved. So that'll be helpful come next week, because it's 60 degrees outside right now. We're going to get cold this weekend, and that's really when I want to see all this stuff. So. What up, guys? I see some water. I might be able to get some video on this today. It might be halfway interesting. I got a big ass humidifier right now. Whew. It is hot. This is a steam coil. And it's leaking down inside here somewhere, so we're going to tear all that apart. I'll get the steam shut off first. I've had problems with this thing in the past. I've actually made a repair on this previously. You can see the holes. So what happened, if I understand the history, because I've not been at this plant forever. I'm just taking over some of this stuff and trying to work out some kinks. This coil was put in backwards, or upside down, or something. So the guys came back and actually flipped it around, guys who put it in. And this is supposed to be the correct orientation now. And they dropped, see, they dug a hole here. They dropped the condensate line down. So it used to come straight out, I think. And I remember when I first came on this site that we had a bigger steam trap, and it was just a bucket type steam trap. So I've looked at some of my other air handlers in other buildings out here, and they have a bucket type 812 cast iron steam trap on them, and they're about the same damn size. So I'm not sure this trap's flowing correctly. Last year I actually replaced the trap after I fixed all my pressure issues. Traps are rated for 70 psi, and they were pressurizing to 80. So now we've got my pressure issues taken care of. I'm running about 15 to 30 psi now. I'd like to be about 15 to 20, but that's where I'm at this point. So I'm gonna have to repipe all this, put the 812 trap in, because I think that's correct. Basically, I can crack my drain valve. You see I'm getting some condensate out. I can crack this drain valve and let the condensate drain, and I can watch my temperature actually go up. This does have a BAS system, so I can monitor, and I see my temperature go through the roof when I'm draining. Close the drain valve, temperature runs, hey, 80-ish, 90. So I think that's what led me to the problem with my steam trap. I think somebody just threw that on there. So anyways, we're gonna get all that done, get the leak repaired, and then we'll see where our temperature's at, and hopefully we can get this thing fixed for good. So it's our supply line closed. Now we drain. Finally slowed down. We could still be bleeding through that valve a little bit, but it's pretty much stopped. So we're gonna allow it to drain, get the inside tore apart, find our leak, work on getting the copper prepped and fix it. First of all, we got all our hardware out of the way. The damper removed. We can see our steam coil. Bracket off of this side, so this will actually pull up, but you can see I busted there before I put that coupling in, and I've got a little pinhole right there. It's kind of a weird spot. I don't really see any more, so it's still dripping water a little bit. We may have to blow this out. What I'll do in the meantime is prop this up, maybe get the bracket back in there, make sure it can drain, and let everything drain, because as you all may know, if there's any water in this coil, you're not brazing that. And you'll know real quick if your brazing rod won't take. So I've got no water up here, so I think everything else is good. Just down here, and this should be pretty easy. You can see how it's bubbled up, and that's typically what they'll do when they bust. You typically get a wide hole that you gotta press back down and get closed, like that one is. So this should be pretty easy. You can see it's right on the copper where my braze was. Leak the last time was on the back side, and I don't see anything back there, so get that brazed up, and should be all we got to do, and then we'll have to get everything secured again to where it can drain. So when this damper goes 100% closed, I bypass my coil, and this is 100% outside air, and I trip my freestat, and that's in the control algorithm for what's controlling this unit. So I haven't solved that problem yet, so I'm going to do what I can here to fix my leaks, and until we can figure out everything else, we're going to leave that damper out. Alright, so I got my hole patched. You can see I tried to get underneath on it too, but that's patched. So I think we're going to be alright there. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to leave it open until I turn the steam back on, make sure I don't have any more leaks, and then we'll put everything back together. Here's the fun part. My new steam trap is an 812 bucket trap, which is going to go right here. Used to have one, but it was up higher, so it's probably, I don't know, it's about a foot tall. So I'm going to have to dig me out a spot. So we're going to dig a little bit more of a hole here and make some room. Whew. That ought to be enough room. I can't really go any further. That's my electric. That runs through there. So ought to be more than enough room for that steam trap. Get that in place. And then cross our fingers we don't have no more leaks. I think we're going to be alright. Alright, so we just about got the steam trap in place. Turn the steam back on shortly, but go check out one of my previous steam videos. I explain a little bit more how the steam works and the physics and the math behind it. But you can see my lines here. Steam trap's on the bottom. So I've got to raise my steam up to that point, and then it goes all the way up and actually comes out right there, and then feeds back to a DA tank. So I've got to raise my steam, I don't know, 15 feet or so. There's the old one. There's our new trap. I gotta be able to handle a whole lot more flow with this thing. Alright, so a little bit of repiping. It's not the most beautiful thing, but we got the new steam trap in place. Everything's tightened down. We ought to be good. I've got my drain valves open still. Go ahead and open my return line. And we'll crank the steam on slowly. And then see if we got any leaks. Just gonna crack it at first. I should hear the steam go. There she goes. I'll leave it right there. Let's go see what we got. I don't see any drips. It's a good sign. Oh yeah, we're heating up. Crank it a little bit more just to make sure we don't have any leaks, but I think we're gonna be all right. Make sure we flush all this water out, because we will have water hammer inside that coil. If we turn the steam on too fast, we could blow the coil again. And you can hear some of that steam. But no leaks, so we'll go ahead and shut it back off, and just so it's not 1,000,000 degrees in here, and put all this back together. Now that I've got the new steam trap on, I think my flow is going to be better. This is 100% outside air, so what I'm thinking is when my damper's closed, if I'm not able to flow enough of that condensate back, that was causing my air temperature to drop, that I might be okay now that I've got hopefully the correct trap in place. So we'll see what it's like with that damper closed, what kind of temperature drop I've got, or temperature rise, and then maybe have to adjust the damper or pull one of these dampers out like I said before. But we got our leak fixed, that's the main thing. I think we got all the water out. Now we'll close it back off. Oh yeah, I like it. Alright, now my phone's acting up like crazy. So we can see our freeze stat's in alarm right now. We got to reset that, and then we're going to turn this guy on and just kind of monitor our supplier temperature, which should be in our analogs, discharge air temperature, right now 61. So now we just monitor our coil damper command. That's our facing bypass damper. It's labeled differently in here, but you can see our discharge air temperature climbing, and that coil damper is going to start opening up because I just reset the freeze stat. And it's going to climb slowly, but temperature increasing pretty fast right now. So we're going to monitor, see where we get, and then we'll let this coil damper completely shut down and see what kind of supply temperature I have at that point. Like I said previously, coil damper goes to 0% and it wouldn't maintain temperature because that completely blocks the steam coil. And when it's 10 to 30 degrees outside, I trip my freeze stat. So we're going to monitor and see how she does. So you can hear our trap moving. I've got my mechanic stethoscope. It's good to have, especially with these steam traps. But it sounds pretty good. Might take some time to get it primed to get all that condensate in there. I'm doing better on my supply temperature than I've seen. I'm at 102 and I'm only at 28% on my damper. You can see my space temps coming up too. Now it's still warm outside, so but I'm probably 50 something outside, So I'm almost at a 50-degree temperize. The best I could get out of it with that other trap was 60, 70 degrees. So I'm really happy with what's going on right now. Let's see that damper action position. See it there modulate. Now everything's looking good. I'm still learning exactly what sound I need out of these traps, but the other one was continuously chattering, like it wasn't allowing the condensate to build up and then passing the condensate through. So I've successfully reduced my pressure again. Before I even open the valves on this, I'm down to like 18 psi. So I'm still monitoring the other one with my computer, but this is another air handler of similar size. It's 78 degrees, same 100% outside air, and my damper's at 0%. So that's going to be my benchmark at this point. This one does have a VFD on it, so it's a little bit different, but now this is one that I've had the least amount of problems out of, and you can see with the damper closed on that one, it's at 93. But I believe I checked and I found the bypass face damper on this one was actually cracked just a little bit, which is what I was going to do to this other one. So we'll monitor, see where we're at when we go to 0%, and then see if we need to adjust. And we'll go check on this guy, make sure it is cracked open, and then maybe we'll crack the damper on this one and the other one that was only 78 degrees. Maybe we solve some of our problems. Alright, so we're doing pretty good. I actually hit my set point, which I haven't seen it do it that fast when it was that old steam trap. You can see we're still 45%, 110 almost. I'm going to be happy with that, so we're going to continue to watch. We're going to watch this drop back down now that we hit our space temp, and once it goes to 0, we'll check it out. Now we can take our infrared gun and check. See, we've got about 240 or so. That's steam. And on the outlet side, if I can get you to see, about 207, that's condensate. So we're at 4%. Discharge air is 86. So it's still modulating down. I'm gonna have to crack that damper some more to keep that air up. So I'm about 60 outside right now, so about 25 degree temperize. It's not going to be good if it's 10 degrees outside. I'm going to trip my freeze stat. So we're going to let it go down to all the way 0, and then we'll lock it in place and see if we can't get it adjusted. You can see at about 4%. My other hair handler needs to be adjusted too. You can see I'm right at, I was just showing 78, but 76 and dropping, which, I mean, they were damn near 0. That's not going to be good if we get cold outside. I don't know how this design was supposed to work, being completely outside air to make up air. So blower never shuts off, and without getting into the TGP program in here and changing something, the only thing I can really do is adjust the coil damper to be open slightly all the time. It's not really going to help my space temperature, but at this point I'm just trying to keep the coil from freezing, which it shouldn't freeze now that everything's flowing right. But if we trip my freeze stat, that's just another problem. So that's the what I'm dealing with at this point. So here's the problem I have. I can just barely, back there is my actuator, so you can't really get to it. And I don't know if that's another spectacular train design or if that's the guys who installed this coil. Initially they installed this coil upside down or backwards or something, and they supposedly came back and fixed it, swapped it around. That's why they got the extra holes on the other side. So I think what I'm going to do is just remove this center damper here and see if that helps, but actually that's not going to work because I have another damper on the back side that's shutting off too. So if we come back here and look, you can see the back side of that coil. And so this is the other side of my damper. All my linkage connects to both sides. So these shut off my steam coil as well. So just removing a damper is not going to help me none. I'm going to have to adjust that actuator. So I've got it adjusted. It's a pain in the ass. I can just get back there enough to get little quarter turns on those nuts to loosen it up. I don't know why you'd ever put something back there like that, but I mean, if it ever goes bad, you're screwed. You can't change it out. So I don't know. Dealing with what I got right now. So I'm trying to fix one problem and make another, because now technically it may not go 100% open, although it was showing 80% earlier and it looked pretty damn close to 100% open. So it should have been adjusted like this already. I'm not sure. I'm still looking in at the original design and how all this is supposed to work. For right now, it's my job to make it work. So we're at 0%. We're getting about 85, 88 degrees. The other one we looked at was 98. It's still coming up right now, so we're just going to monitor. And again, it's not going to be best for our temperature in space, but we'll see where we go from there. So I'm going to leave it as is for right now. I'm about 95. So if I'm probably 60 outside right now, so that gives me a 35 degree rise, which if we were to hit 0, we don't have too many days that cold, but if we were to hit 0, I'm going to be right on my freeze stat at that 34 degree. But for right now, I'm happy with it. I'm going to let it run for a while and just keep an eye on it. We'll probably actuate that damper a few times and make sure that it stays where it needs to be, and then go from there. The other thing helping me out here, you can see I'm putting 95 degree air in. I haven't really raised my temperature. That is because this is considered an explosive atmosphere, so I can't really get you any video inside, but I've got a supply and exhaust fan that are controlled back here by some of these starters, and it's continually supplying air, fresh air, and exhausting air. This is supplying fresh air too, but it's heated, so we can heat the space, because the other air is just outside air, so it's going to cool it down. So that's probably we're going to get away with right where we're at. So especially as the temp drops outside, the space temp's going to drop, and it'll start actuating back open. So we're now operating. This is my pressure reducing station for that building. We're running right about 15 PSI or so. So I'm happy with that. Couldn't be happier with this right now. We're gonna leave it be, come back next week and check it when it's a whole lot colder. So leave me a comment, guys. We're still maintaining that 96 degree air, so I haven't been able to get anything out of that like that temperature with that old steam trap on. I was also able to reduce that pressure because I had a bunch of steam traps in that space failed that I just replaced every one of them, trying to make all this correct. I've got like 3 more buildings to do the same thing on. But leave me a comment. Let me know what y'all think. Leave the trade better than you found it. We'll see you guys next time.